Thank you for coming today. This is the first of our department meeting series. Next week will be marketing. So every Monday for the next several weeks, each department's going to do a little presentation. And the purpose of that is really to talk about the function within each department, how we communicate with residents, how you can communicate with us. We want to talk a little bit about accomplishments over the last 2 years or so, based on the feedback we've received from you. Also, I just wanted to put out a reminder that not to forget that we have our Value of Life Care presentation this Thursday. It's at Appetizers with Angie, so that's Thursday at 2 o'clock in the auditorium. So I'll get started. So I want to talk a little bit about myself, if that's okay. I don't get to do this a whole lot sometimes, but this is really things about me. So in the top left here, they're my kids. They're my 3 cats. On the left is Jordy, but his full name is Jordan Spieth. Some of you know I'm a Jordan Spieth fan, so that's his full name. There in the back, that's Theo. And in the front is Coach. Now I'll tell you the story behind Coach's name. My dad passed away about 5 years ago. My dad's name was Kyle. So I wanted to name my cat Kyle. And my dad's probably rolling over in his grave, naming a cat after him. But I also like to name my cats after celebrities. So there was a celebrity named Kyle Chandler who played a coach on television. If you watch Friday Night Lights, he was Coach Taylor. And so this turned into Coach. My dad was also a coach. So that's how Coach got his name. Up on the top right corner is the Philly fanatic. I am a huge Philadelphia Phillies fan. And the bottom left is an all-inclusive resort in Mexico. I went here 2 years ago. But I will tell you, when I'm vacationing, that's my vacation of choice, is an all-inclusive resort somewhere in the Caribbean. And then the bottom right is my family. So in the middle is my mom. And then my sister's behind her and my 3 nephews. So I get to spoil them and give them back and just focus on taking care of my cats, which is slightly easier. So that's about me. And then we have Stephanie's slide. I told her I would present on her behalf. So up in the top left for her, that's her vacation of choice. That's the mountains in Tennessee, or somewhere close to Tennessee. Is that Tennessee, Stephanie? Okay, so this is from the porch of where she stayed in Tennessee. On the top right, Stephanie is the one who celebrates everything. So if we have an anniversary, a service anniversary or a birthday or a special occasion, that's a little picture of a celebration that Stephanie puts together. And then her beloved dogs, Bucky, Cole, and Gunner. And in the bottom right is, she loves to take pictures of the delicious dinners she cooks every night. So she's a good cook. They're her wings and salad. So that's about Stephanie. And this is just a little bit more about us. So I've been here, it will be 17 years in August. And I started as the Director of Financial Services. I did a short stint down at assisted living in the Arbors as the executive director there. Then I became the associate executive director of the campus, and then became the executive director a little over 5 years ago. And then Stephanie, we also call her, she's the executive assistant, but also the director of resident happiness, which we think is an appropriate title. She is the creator of the weekly. And she will celebrate 33 years of service along with Freedom Plaza next month. So next, just getting into a little bit more of the detail of what Stephanie does here at Freedom Plaza. These are not all-inclusive lists. We just tried to come up with some of the high points. So most of you know that Stephanie schedules shared meeting spaces. So if you need a room booked, she's going to give you the 3rd degree and make sure you really need a room before she starts trying to maneuver that calendar. She also does the weekly. So if you have something for the weekly, we'd like you to get that to her by the end of the day on Wednesday. She does postage. She assists with resident copier and computers. She maintains all the pet records for our animals here at Freedom Plaza. She also helps with internal transfers. So if a resident wants to move to a different apartment, she'll help with that. She also does the resident directory with a phone book that just went out a few weeks ago. And so she wants to make sure you look at it real close. If you find any mistakes, please make sure you bring it to her attention so she can get it fixed. She is also our vendor for Red Freedom Plaza polo shirts and dog shirts. So if you don't have one and want one, see Stephanie. She decorates the credenzas. She is the keeper of all the hard copy handouts from resident meetings. So we will have copies of this for you if you want one, and they will be available at Stephanie's desk. We will also send out these presentations with the Wednesday memo. She orders replacement name tags. So if you need a name tag, you can go see Stephanie. She is the provider of snacks, which we all know. And she also puts together information packets for the rec reps. So Stephanie had 3 slides, I have 1. But this, again, is not an all-inclusive list. I tried to kind of focus on maybe more things that you don't know about what I do on a daily basis. So obviously, I oversee the entire community. I am connected to Freedom Plaza 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So you might think I'm probably not paid enough, but I will tell you I'm very blessed to have a really great leadership team that can handle a lot of things. So they always keep me informed if I'm not here. The front desk has my cell phone number. All the leadership team has my cell phone number. Many employees have my cell phone number, and even a few residents. We have a weekly leadership meeting every Tuesday morning where we all get together and we sort of just do a round robin and talk about what's going on that week. If there's any important information to share, we share that with each other at that meeting. But I have regular meetings with the department heads individually all the time. So you may walk by my office and see Teresa in there, or see Lisa in there, or Dennis in there. We're always talking about what's going on here at the community in the individual departments. We have resident town hall meetings, but we also have employee town hall meetings where we share with the employees what's going on that's impacting them. We talk about benefits and other things. Whatever the topic at that time is, they're allowed to ask any question they want, but we do those quarterly as well. And we do one here in independent living, we do one at Plaza West, and we also do them at assisted living in the Arbors. A big part of my role is being a sales partner and a sales leader. So I spend a lot of time with Cindy and the sales counselors on our different marketing strategies. And a big part of LCS is creating a sales first culture, which means everybody here sells Freedom Plaza. Not just the marketing team, not just myself or the leadership team. All the employees sell Freedom Plaza, you all sell Freedom Plaza. And we're actually having a training in August here to just kind of refresh that mentality. And we're doing that down at the Plaza Club with a big group of employees. So I'm looking forward to that. Every month I get to report on our financial statements to our regional partners. And then Dennis and I together prepare the operating budget. And that's for 2026. If you can believe it, we're already getting started on that next month. So these are just some high level things, but wanted you to know some of these things that go on behind the scenes. This talks a little bit about how we communicate. And I've heard probably in resident feedback and surveys, we always, if we have an opportunity to do things better, I often hear it's about communication. So I want to make sure everybody knows the way I communicate, but also the way you can communicate with me. We do the Wednesday memo. We have the weekly. Every month we have a resident town hall meeting. We have apps with Angie. Hold smaller group meetings. In the past we've done floor meetings, but this go around, we decided to do them by department. And I'm going to be at all the department meetings if I'm able to be. Also, we have the rave system that sends out messages. We have Uniguest. There's lots of information on Uniguest. We have channel 732, which is the Freedom Plaza Network, our in-house television channel. But also, we all have an open door policy. So if our office doors are open, myself, the leadership team, anybody here at Freedom Plaza, and we're in there, you're welcome to come in and talk to us about anything. Sometimes we're not in our office, so if there's something you'd like to discuss with me or anybody on the leadership team, you can schedule an appointment as well. We want to make sure we're available. This is a little bit about my professional growth and development. So every time I'm not here for a couple of days, everybody thinks I'm on vacation. And I promise you, I wish I was. But that's not always the case. So I am a board member for Leading Age Southeast. So what that requires of me is every quarter it takes me away for about 2 to 3 days. So some quarters it's just a board meeting, that would be 2 days. In the month of July, it'll be 3 days because it's our annual conference in Orlando. There's also some calls that I have to be on with Leading Age, but I can do those from here, so I'm actually in the community when I do those calls. I'm part of the Life Care Services Operations Council, and what that is, it's a group of executive directors, and then there's also some VP of operations on the council that work for LCS, and it's a group of people that sort of discuss or evaluate new initiatives by LCS, and we kind of give feedback, and then they might tweak it before they roll it out to everybody. So being on that council, we're talking about things that are potentially coming down the pipeline for all the communities, and we kind of say, well, is that really going to work because of this, or this sounds great, but maybe if we change this, we have all those types of conversations. And that's 2 calls per month, but 1 week out of the year, I go to Des Moines and we meet in person on that council. I'm also a mentor to new executive directors. So right now we have a new executive director at Lakeport Square, and that's up in Leesburg, Florida. So I've spent a couple days up there over the last month or 2, and will continue to do so. A funny story is last week, they're just now rolling out their preferred choice dining program there. So I got to be there for that first meeting with the residents. I kind of stood in the back, and while the new executive director did the presentation on this new dining program, and all the residents started, well, what about this? And I went up at the end, they asked me to come up and say, I said, man, you're giving me flashbacks. But I think it's going to go really well. We're actually going to take a group of residents up there in July and let them talk directly to residents, because sometimes I think that's a little more meaningful than listening to what I have to say, right? Because I'm always going to tell them it's a great thing, right? So we're going to take some Freedom Plaza residents up there. And then the new executive director, his name is Marcus, and he will probably come spend a couple of days here as well in the near future. Last year, I was involved in a class called Splash. It was an LCS leadership development program, and it required me to go to Des Moines 4 times. I graduated from that class in February of this year, where the wind chill was -20 when I was there for my graduation. So that took me away a good bit last year, but it was a really beneficial class. I complained a lot about the travel, because I don't know if anybody here has been to Des Moines, but it is not easy to get there or get home. Spent a few nights in Dallas missing a flight connection, but it's not easy to get in and out of there, but really a worthwhile class. So I learned a lot more about my personality, and that how to recognize that some people may have a different personality than I do and may need to be managed or communicated with a little differently than what I need. So learned about myself, learned how to work with others better, so I think it was a really great experience for me. And then once a year, and we actually just did this a few weeks ago, Life Care Services has the senior leadership management training. Once a year, it's for a week. We went to Houston the second week in May. And it's 3 days of a lot of just talking about LCS initiatives, sharing best practices, getting to see people in person that you see virtually a lot. So it's a really good relationship building experience. Some of the ways that I get to know residents and share information. So we have the RAC General meetings. I always talk for a few minutes at the RAC General meetings. I have bi-weekly meetings with the RAC president and the designated resident representative on specific topics. That's all related to 651 requirements, so we always do that. ROC board meetings and JAC meetings, for those of you who are on ROC, you know what that means, but regular meetings that the ROC board has, there's a special committee called JAC, and they meet quarterly, and we share a lot of information. But I also meet with the ROC chair and president bi-weekly. I've also had in the last 2 years scheduled breakfast, lunch, and dinners with residents, and that's probably my favorite, because while sometimes we talk about issues at Freedom Plaza, a lot of times it's just getting to know each other, getting to know more about that person's experience and history and where they've lived and about their family, and I share that same information. So I'll get those scheduled again here soon as well. And then also just resident events and activities. I get to see you all in a different setting, and it's not always business, so I enjoy doing that. The other thing I want to talk about, and another purpose of these meetings, is we're gearing up towards our resident satisfaction survey. And I wanted to make sure that we covered some of the information that's always on that survey, but we don't talk about all that often. And then you see it and you're like, I'm not really sure what this means. So there's a section on the resident satisfaction survey that talks about our hospitality promises. And that's an LCS thing, the hospitality promises. But it really boils down to just providing good customer service and hospitality here. So the hospitality vision statement is that we passionately and proudly differentiate ourselves, we meet and exceed customers' expectations, and we consistently demonstrate our service culture and recognize all who embody it. And then on the right, and it's really small and I can barely see it, is the 10 hospitality promises. And when you all, and I think this is an easy way to think of it, and you can get a hard copy of this where you'll be able to read it more clearly, is I get lots of nice emails about all the great things our employees do here and submit them for the Employee of the Month. And so everything that you see and recognize about our employees when they do a great job means that they're working in accordance with these hospitality promises. And so it's something we talk about at the employee town hall meetings and recognize people when they, exemplify a specific hospitality promise. So we're all of us are trying to work in alignment with these promises every day. Some days don't go as well as we expect, but we always keep these top of mind. Also, resident engagement. I think that's sort of a nebulous statement. So I'm becoming a really big fan of AI in the context of being able to ask ChatGPT or another AI website, give me a simplified definition for this, and it'll really put it in a way that makes a lot of sense. And that's sort of what I did for resident engagement. So there's a section on the resident survey that asks about resident engagement and if you feel engaged in your community. And really what that means, in simple terms, it's about feeling included, having choices and staying connected, whether that's joining a club, attending an event, volunteering, or just having your ideas heard and respected. So that's really essentially what resident engagement is. And so when you get your survey and you're asked about that, this is what it means. And a little bit more about the resident satisfaction survey. The survey window is going to be August 15th to September 5th. We're going to do a big kickoff event on Friday, August 15th. We want to make this exciting and fun. So there's going to actually be 2 events on that day because we don't think we can handle all of you at once because we know everybody's going to participate, right? There's going to be a morning event and an afternoon event, and we'll split the group up with some method to the madness and let you know what that is. But what we're gonna have like individual voting booths. Like, you know when you go vote and you have like a little booth you stand in? We're gonna have those so you can complete your survey right there at that kickoff event. You don't have to, but if you want to, that's gonna be available to you. Also, there's gonna be lots of food and raffle prizes. We wanna make it fun. And what we want you to fill out the survey candidly, for sure. But what I don't want it to be is the way you, I hate to use the word complain, but let's just call it like it is. Complain about something that happened a year ago and it's already been resolved, right? The survey itself is about your overall experience here. And we're not perfect, right? We don't handle every situation perfectly, but I think we do a pretty good job at service recovery when something doesn't go well. So what the survey is to really tell about your overall experience as a resident at Freedom Plaza. And I know I'm biased, but I think it's a pretty great place. I hope you all do too. So fill that out candidly, but just think about your overall experience at Freedom Plaza. So what questions do you have for me? Or Stephanie? We can get her up here if you want. No questions? Bill.
You mentioned you were on a leading age board. What's leading age?
So Leading Age Southeast is an association. So we have FLYCRA. Many of you are members of FLYCRA. That's the association that works on behalf of the residents of CCRCs in Florida. And Leading Age is the association that works on behalf of communities in the state of Florida. And I would say 99% of the time, we're all working towards the same goals. So FLYCRA and Leading Age Southeast work closely together on most of any legislation that's proposed that would impact Freedom Plaza. Those 2 groups are working hand in hand. There are a few instances where maybe we aren't in alignment completely, but it's the association that works on behalf of CCRCs in Florida. And I don't know if you remember, it's been several years now, probably 4 years ago, Steve Bamer, he's the president of Leading Age Southeast, came here and talked to all of you. So might be a good idea to bring him back sometime soon to do that again. Any other questions? We are going to have some raffle prizes at the end. They're pretty good. That's what you have your tickets for. But I'm going to let Dennis talk first before we draw for those raffle winners. All right, Dennis.
Well, good afternoon. So it's time to hear the bean counters talk now. All right. I'll tell you a little bit about our department and what we do, and similar to Angie, I'll give you a little kind of background on kind of how I got to be here and what kind of some of the things I have going on. Also, Sam, who I'm sure most of you are all familiar with, will also be sharing a little bit from the business office side. So let me start off by saying, who makes up the business office or the finance and accounting department here. It's myself. For those who I haven't met personally, my name is Dennis Kimball. I am the Director of Financial Services. And Sam is our business office manager here at the Independent Living. If you should ever end up living at assisted living or memory care or even at the skilled nursing, there is a different business office manager that you would deal with at those locations. But during your time here, it would, the 2 of us can make up the business department over here. We're located, I think most of you all know it, but for those of you who are new, we're located on the 3rd floor right next to the club room. And if you know where Angie and Steph's desks are, if you follow the circle around, we're exactly on the other side of the building. I've also provided our email addresses and phone numbers in terms of ways to get hold of us. Email is probably the best way. It's the most efficient way to get hold of me, just because when there's an email, it sits right in my inbox, and so it's going to sit there until I address it. So you can obviously call as well, leave messages, but probably the preferred method of contacting me is email. Before I tell you more about myself, I'll just mention that I am one of the few rare native Floridians that you'll see roundabout. Seems like it's becoming more rare with each passing year. I'm from the other side of the state where it actually does get cold in the winter, Pensacola. Some people refer to it as LA, Lower Alabama. But we're proud of Pensacola. It's a big Navy town, home of the Blue Angels, and I spent all my growing up years there, and I go back pretty frequently. That's where still my family is, so I love going there. I've been here in the Tampa Bay area probably about a little over 35 years. I moved here right after graduating college, and I've spent part of my time on the St. Pete side, part of my time over on the Hillsborough side. So I love Tampa Bay area, and so pretty established here now. As far as, this is the part I love to talk the most about, my kids. So I have 4 kids. They're already up to ages of 18, 21, 28, and 23. 30. Seems like she was just 23. So of them, and I'll kind of point them out here, 3 of them are out of the house already on their own. 1 is married, living up in New Hampshire. That's my daughter here in the middle. She just got married coming up on 2 years. This September will be 2 years. So you can't really see it very well the way the picture is, but she got married with the White Mountains in the background up in New Hampshire. There was still some of the smoke issues from Canada that created some visibility issues. So it looked much better when you were there. But anyway, so that's my daughter, Caitlin. She graduated from the Central Michigan University, very athletic. And then to the right there is me and my 3 sons. From the left to the right, that's my son Josh, he's 30. Next to him is the little caboose, he's 18, just graduated from high school. Myself, and then my son Andrew, who he lives in the Tampa Bay area. My oldest son Josh, he lives up in Gainesville. He graduated from the University of Florida. Go Gators. And anyway, so he's married there. And then the one on the far right, Andrew, he just recently moved out and got his own place. So him and then my youngest are still here in Tampa. And then this picture here on the far left is just from this most recent Christmas. And then you see a couple of new faces, and that's the 2 new spouses that have become part of the family. And then just a little bit about the things we like to do. So I love spending time. Having these kids. The biggest thing is how fast the time flies, and so that's why I spend every opportunity I can doing things with them, because I can't even do that as much with my older ones. So these last 2, I really make it a priority to do a lot of things with them. So we love spending time. Doing things in the Tampa area. Every spring, I usually take the 2 younger boys, we go on a cruise somewhere in the Caribbean, and then every few years we try to go up in the mountains and spend some time in a cabin. We're actually planning that this fall. So we like to hike, anything outdoors we love to do. The picture on the bottom here is from our most recent cruise in this past April. Picture in the middle was the last time we went on a cabin hiking trip, and that was in think it was 3 years ago. And then the last picture there is kind of sums up what we like to do when we're just at home. We're big football fans. My youngest son, who still lives with me, and myself are big football fans. So if it's Bucks or Gators, that's where you're going to find us every weekend. And I recently bought a new house and kind of built everything around the house around this one room. This is my man cave. And so, like I said, we spend a lot of time in there, and probably one of, laughing, joking, having fun, and hopefully watching winning teams. We also love the Rays and the Lightning as well. So that's it. Oh, that is my massage chair. So I've had back issues off and on. So actually, that was actually one of the very first things I bought for the new house was a massage chair, and not a day goes by that we don't use that. It's 20 minutes. That's 20 minutes of every day for sure. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about what happens in the business office, and specifically I'm going to let Sam talk about the business office side. I'm going to tell you more about what I do as the Director of Financial Services. So I've been here, September will be 3 years. My background, I have a little over 30 years as a CPA, and all of those over 30 years have been spent in some capacity working either in a CCRC community like this or various capacities of healthcare or long-term care. So I kind of have like a broad spectrum, and it's always from more the financial side, trying to help communicate, deal with regulators, deal with auditors, and just help make sure that everything is the way it needs to be from a financial standpoint. So here at Freedom Plaza, like one of the big things that I do regularly is every month I work with our community directors and with our corporate people in Des Moines in the preparation and distribution of financial statements. Every month, you hear me up here once a quarter, kind of giving you an update on what's going on with Freedom Plaza financially. And so that's all based on the monthly financials that we come out with. And as part of that process, I meet with the directors, helping them manage their labor and spending. We have what we call spend down meetings, and depending on what department it is, I meet with them at a certain frequency, and we just really want to make sure that we're being wise stewards with the money that we get. We want to make sure we're spending it where it needs to be spent, and making sure that everything is being communicated properly in the way that we present it in the statements. And we're always looking, of course, like how it compares with the budget, which is another big part of what we do from a financial standpoint. One of the other things that I do is perform financial qualifications and closings for new residents. Probably many of you who have been here, who've come here in the last 3 years, I probably did your financial qualification, and a number of you probably also got to do your closing. I recognize a few faces that I did your closing. And that, again, is a big part of helping to make sure that your initial start here at Freedom Plaza, like when I do a closing, I really like to go through the contract and really try to help you understand how your services are going to work, how do annual increases work, so that you really have an understanding of the benefits that you're going to have here. You're obviously, it's a very busy time. You're in the process of probably selling a house. You're probably signing lots of agreements. You're coordinating a moving company. You're trying to get moved in. So there's a lot of things going on. And so now you get to look at a 24-page contract. And so I try to spend a little time kind of hitting the high points. But one of the other things that you'll see below that there is that one of the things I do is I meet with residents to discuss contract questions. Because at that closing, a lot of times it may feel like you're putting your mouth around a water hose, a lot of information coming at you real fast. You're just trying to figure out where is the auditorium, where are things. And so sometimes after the dust settles, a few years have gone by, and you just maybe it's nice to get a refresher to understand more about what are the benefits. And we can kind of walk through the contract. So I encourage those of you who, feel like, it's been a while, I've been here a long time, but I really don't know how my contract would apply to this situation or that situation, or maybe if you're looking to make a transfer at some point to one of the higher levels of care, we're here to help answer those questions. So I encourage you, if you do feel like you have questions like that, reach out, we can set up an appointment and go over it. Because again, our goal is to help make sure that when there's confusion in certain areas, it has a tendency to go negative, because when things are unknown, it tends to sometimes be scary, and then there's an immediate kind of negative movement. Whereas if we can kind of like get the information out front, then when there's not confusion, then things tend to stay more positive. And then we meet with residents if there's questions regarding changes to their situation. I mentioned, moving to a higher level of care. That would be an example. Or if there's a situation where perhaps when you moved in, there were two of you and now there's only one of you. And so perhaps there's a situation where financially you find yourself in a situation where it might be helpful to transfer to downsize. And so, we can, in those situations, we can kind of go through it and see what might be the best situation for you. So again, I encourage you to, take advantage of opportunities. Like I said, if you email to set up an appointment, or you can stop by my office and we can do that. I'll have a few closing comments at the end, but right now I'm going to pass the mic over to Sam Kirkland, our business office manager.
All right, so for those of you who don't know me, which I highly doubt anybody has not met me yet, but I am Sam Kirkland. I was born here in Florida. I was adopted within my family to Alabama and was raised there. Then I returned back to Florida 15 years ago. I followed my mother down after my father had passed away to be somewhat her caretaker. In that 15 years, I got married. My mother died in 2021, so I took over the responsibility for my sister. My sister's mentally handicapped. She is 57 age-wise, but in her mind, she's a 5-year-old child. So she's my world. Her favorite place to go is Disney, so both of the pictures on the bottom of us at Disney. Then, unlike Dennis, I don't have kids. I have fur kids. So the dog, her name is Nimue. She got her name because of Lady of the Lake. It was Merlin, that story. I don't know if anybody's familiar. But then we have Icarus, who's our cat. He is 13 years old. He got his because he liked to be a little dangerous. So, Icarus, the guy who flew too close to the sun, that was him. So, of those 15 years that I've lived here in Florida, come July, I'll be here for 10 years. I started my career off here as a CNA down at Plaza West, and then I became a precepting CNA, which is I trained the new oncoming CNAs, and I also did their little classes down there that would help them graduate through different programs to become a CNA. Then after that little spit, I went to become their central supply coordinator, which I would order supplies, deal with equipment, inventory, stock, and then I decided to go back to school. So I went to school, 4-time recipient of the Freedom Plaza Scholarship, and I thank you all, and graduated with honors. And that's what led me to being up here. So there was a position open. I became your business office coordinator. Shortly after, I became the manager. And now I am the business office. I don't have a lot of big stories to talk about, but yeah, that was neat. So what I do in the business office is I am involved with a lot of resident-oriented items, such as facilitating the monthly closeout process, preparing and distributing the monthly billing statements. Now, I do that alone, you know, all of your statements, stuff and fold all by myself. I meet with you all to discuss your meal plans. If you want to change meal plans, it's not working for you, come in, see me, we'll get it changed. And if you have any issues on your billing statement, now the ones that are ACH, you need to come before the 4th, because otherwise you're going to have to wait until the next billing cycle to get it fixed. And then I also entered the new information for the new residents that are coming on board. All of our closings, I put them into the billing system. And when the time comes, well, I also calculate the refunds from your contracts whenever the contract's terminated. And that's just some of what I do. If I haven't met you, like I said, give it time, I'll mess up on your bill.
Thank you, Sam. So that is kind of a business office in a nutshell. And I kind of have this like closing slide where, you know, kind of like our general mission, you know, as Director of Financial Services and Business Office Manager, we have some areas that kind of overlap. In general, you know, we handle and coordinate the financial related matters for the campus. And so, you know, I add here that, you know, we're here to make sure that you're able to understand the financial matters regarding your time here at Freedom Plaza, whether that means sitting with myself, as I was discussing a little while ago, going over your contract benefits that are provided there, or maybe it's sitting with Sam, going over questions you have on your monthly statement. Those are some of the primary documents that kind of like questions, you know, come from. And our goal is, as the department, is we strive to answer your questions or point you to the right department to get your questions addressed. And so we try to be as transparent as possible. You know, I always say, you know, when I'm doing closing, I always picture my parents sitting across the table from me, and I want to make sure that the kind of information that you're getting is the kind of information that I would want them to know about. And so, you know, to that extent, we try to make sure that we can answer whatever questions you have. And that concludes our finance and accounting area. If there's any questions? If not, I will pass over to Angie for the fun part of the